We are with Molly McCook of Ellerbe Fine Foods in Fort Worth, Texas. Thank you so much for being here at the James Beard House with us.
Thank you for having us.
Tell me a little bit about what Ellerbe is.
Our restaurant is farm to table and seasonal, so we get almost 85% of our produce, cheeses, specialty grains from within about 150 miles of our restaurant. So we pull a lot of seafood from the Gulf, specialty meats from South Texas and whatnot. And really working close with all the farmers.
How did you find yourself in Fort Worth?
Sure. I grew up in Shreveport, Louisiana, so you definitely get a lot of Louisiana influence in our food. But then I did my undergrad in Colorado State and then moved to California for a few years and really got a lot of the farm to table influence started there, as well as the seasonal and a lot of Mediterranean.
And so why end up in Texas? You know, because obviously Louisiana cuisine is so different from Texas cuisine. How do you meld those two influences together?
Fort Worth has been very accepting of what we do, which is great. You know, everyone always thinks of Fort Worth as the meat and potato, big steaks, you know, cowtown. But it was really ready when we got there for a change. So the new brighter flavors, lighter dishes, really working seasonally with the dishes has been totally accepted. West Texas claims as West Texas, South Texas claims as South Texas. So we're right there in the middle of it all.
And how do you find that sort of balancing that Texas feel with your Louisiana background? How does that come out in the menu? Like, what are the things that you'll find on the Ellerbe menu that sort of have influence of both?
Sure. Well, I always start with the vegetables, whatever is in season. And since Fort Worth is very close to Shreveport, everyone grows a lot of the same vegetables that I grew up with my grandparents. So when it's okra season, I have memory foods of okra and tomatoes, and you see things like that show up on our menu. But then when you introduce the Mediterranean influence, we might be pickling or canning or frying, doing something different with things as well.
And what about the sort of meat versus seafood? Because obviously, you know, you're near the Gulf, but on the other hand, you are like in meat country. So how do you balance that on your menu?
We do a bit of it all. You know, we never wanted to be the steak restaurant. We always have one steak because we are in Fort Worth. You have to have the steak. But we also do a lot of seafood, you know, and a lot of different stuff that people don't usually get in Fort Worth that you might only see down on the coast. But because we're right there with DFW, we can bring it in overnighted.
Wow. And you guys also, you know, when you opened, you kind of were a breath of fresh air, not just for Fort Worth, but for Texas. You know, you were on Bon Appetit's, 10 best new restaurants. How have you evolved?
So many ways. I look at our menus from our first year, and they seem so remedial to me now. So it's fun to look back and see how much we've grown and how my tastes have changed and the influences of places that I've gotten to travel. You know, I've been to Spain and Italy recently, and I've been able to pull that into my menu as well. And it's like we're growing up. I hope it's always an evolution. You know, that's what keeps it interesting to us. So we will never have another Ellerbe. This is our baby. It is a challenge every single day, but it's so rewarding to see as we evolve and grow.
And how do you find the dining scene in Fort Worth? How do you find that the customer base is compared to other parts of the country?
I love our customers. I think that they are so accepting of everything that we try and do. They're willing to try anything. It's really interesting. We have a lot of foreign diners that will be coming in from Australia or England a lot. And they say, oh, well, I've dined everywhere, and this is as good as New York, or this reminds me
I know that.
of Napa, and we take that as such a compliment. But they are very surprised because they're like, well, we're in Fort Worth, but the food scene has really grown up, and you know, everyone's traveling all over these days, so we have to keep up with the times no matter where you are.
Yeah, and do you feel like Fort Worth has evolved since you have been there? Do you feel like, you know, the quality and caliber of restaurants has grown over the years?
I think it definitely has. I mean, we are in the middle of a restaurant explosion in Fort Worth, and the farmers markets have really become big. The whole farm-to-table movement has really started taking hold. We probably have 6 or 7 farmers markets, whereas when I started, there was only 2 or 3.
Wow.
So in 5 years, we've almost doubled.
And what do you think accounts for that?
I think the more people hear about it, knowledge, and they get to try it. They get to see there is a difference. It's what I preach, at least. There is a difference in the fresh vegetables, the ones that are grown in your backyard, and the stuff that's shipped.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us here at the James Beard House.
Thank
we really
you.
appreciate it.
I appreciate it.